WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, J.W. Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
Thanks for being with us today. My name is J.W. Simmons. The name of the show is We Should Know. We're coming to you on Star Communications TV, Channel 16, simulcast on WCLN Radio. We're talking with Joey Leggett today, and Falcon's Children's Home is the top of the list. And the holiday season, Joey, thank you for being with us. I know it's a busy time of the year for you, but this time of the year brings people closer to understanding. And I think part of it is just the giving part at Christmas, that people understands that there's certain things and blessings they have, but yet you have chose a career in your path that you daily focus on probably some of the things that the average person just don't want to look at every day, and that's the needs and the demands of what has been referred to as a group of people that are in crisis.
Yeah, thank you, JW, for having me again. I look forward to this each year, and thank you to the fine people of Sampson County and surrounding areas for all of your support for Falcon Children's Home. Yeah, this time of the year is special. It's busy, but it's 17 years ago I chose to go work at Falcon Children's Home and wasn't quite sure, but I just felt a pull there, and I lived here in Sampson County, built a house, lived over at Timber Lake, and lived close to one of your cohorts, Mitchell Brewington over that way.
Absolutely.
But I just felt an urge to go down there, and sometimes when I wonder why my career path took that route, this time of the year reminds me, because I will see the goodness of people, and a lot of good people in Sampson County and the surrounding areas, Cumberland County and so forth, and Harnett County. But people tend to, at Christmas time, think about how lucky they are, how blessed they are, which in turn makes them think about, well, there's a children's home there. Mm-hmm. There's kids there. Wonder what their Christmas is going to be like. Wonder what their Thanksgiving is going to be like. They'll be away from home. And so you see the goodness of people come out. And it's really a compelling part of what I do when I just see these people understand what we're doing. Because on one hand, we see the worst of mankind because the children, they're not any fault of their own. A lot of times it's because of situations in their home life or in their family life that's caused them to be put there. But on the other hand, you see complete strangers come out and saying, you know what? I want to make this little kid's Christmas special, this little boy or this little girl. And our kids feel that too. And they'll just say, these people give these gifts for us. And so it's, if ever I doubt why I'm there or what I'm doing or why God called me to do this, and I really do feel like he called me to do this, not that I'm special, just that I'm willing to go. But at Christmas and Thanksgiving time and during the holiday season, I don't doubt it anymore. I know there's a reason that I'm there.
Well, and I want to thank you, and I also look forward to having you on every year because I think you bring back a realization of how personal this is and should be for everybody viewing and listening today, is how do they engage with this? And there may be people listening to this that were homeless at one time, that didn't have a home, that were living in a foster home. You know, we cover a pretty large swath of real estate in eastern North Carolina with this show, and I often get that call. If I don't have you on pretty early, I'll have a call from somebody saying, when are you going to have Joey Leggett back on? So it's become...
That's my wife calling.
Is that who it is? Yeah, she just changes her voice.
Oh,
right?
my mother-in-law.
Yeah, what can I say? But it really gets to that point that there are people like you that choose by choice to see what many people would call a tragedy every day.
Yeah, it's... I just had a birthday, and every kid there at the Children's Home, which is 85 kids now, made me a birthday card.
Wow.
And when I say these things, I'm in no way trying to brag, but, you know, again, it kind of cements within me what I'm doing there. And one little card said, hey, I was shy, and because I was so fearful of being in this strange environment, but you would come around every day and speak to me, and you don't know what a difference that made. One girl said that I was like the father she never had. Another one said I was like the grandfather. Another one said I was like the great-grandfather. We're kicking her out, by the way.
Yeah, that's
but,
right.
Anyway,
She's out.
But the kids, I see them come, and I see sometimes the fear in their eyes. I see the confusion. And when I see them find that this is a safe place, And this doesn't happen for all kids. Now, we have success stories, sometimes not always successful stories, but when I see that little light go off in their eyes and I realize, hey, they know this is a good place. And life has not come to an end. And even though the world's been turned upside down, there is a better tomorrow. And if we can just play a small part in that, it's just a wonderful thing. And so we see tragedy, but yet then we can see how that tragedy come, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes and these kids becoming something and them saying, hey, I can go on to college, or hey, I can get a vocation and a trade, and I can go on without being able to have that home environment that I thought I had to have. They can find that ambition within themselves to be whatever God wants them to be, and so I do see tragedy, but on the other side of that, I see a lot of success stories that combat that feeling that we see when the kids first get there.
One of the things that struck me is this year's kind of preparing to talk with you. I was looking at your website, and on that website, folks can pull this up and look at it. But there's the Lila Berry story. Yeah. And there's some old video that talks about what that story is and takes you back to the 50s and that reality. And the commentary is that this story is about, and this is a quote, "This is my story, and this is where I belong." Somehow when I saw that and I looked at that quote, I thought about you. Have you reached that point and at some time you said, this is where I belong?
JW, thank you for that question. But like when I went, a lot of people here in Clinton wonder, why is he going to the children's home? And so even when I got there, I still wasn't sure. But, this past year I went through a bout of cancer. And if you saw the program last year, I can barely talk. I'm cancer free now, by the way. My voice is still a little scratchy, but my wife likes that, so that's okay. But I was thinking about that. And I realized as I was going through some of that radiation and I was having some melancholy kind of moments there and praying, I felt this peace that, hey, Lord, I've been blessed that you've allowed me to be a part of this. Because in the 17 years I've been there now, I bet we've had at least 3,000 children come through those doors, give and take a little bit. And if one of those kids' life is better because of something I did or we did at Falcon, then my life's fulfilled. I mean, now I used to run a nursing home at Mary Grand Nursing Center. Absolutely. I used to be a social worker with Mary Margaret Hobbs. I've said that before. Still love Mary Margaret Hobbs to this day. Ruth Holland, that group. I was a juvenile probation officer, worked with Jimmy Thornton, still a good friend of mine today, the sheriff here. And all those things are special. But when you can impact the life of a child, and what makes me have that passion, that can only come from the man upstairs. And so I realize, God, thank you for allowing me to find my place in this world and in this life of what you want me to do. Because every person who's born has a calling. It's up to us to find our giftings and our callings. And I'm not the most gifted person in the world. I'm not the best speaker in the world. I'm not a licensed minister, which is what was there before. But I love children. I love helping people. And I love making a difference. And I see now that God allowed me to find a place to be. So where I could make a difference. And so finding my place would be a lot like the Lila Berry story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think her story is one that folks should kind of get a grasp of, because she literally went into this operation, her and her husband. and I don't think from just looking at some of the superfluous information around that she really anticipated that as being where she belonged.
No, she didn't. The story is that her husband came to pastor the church there in Falcon, which the children's home kids attend. And this was in the late 40s. And she was looking out her kitchen window one day and saw the kids out there playing. And her husband comes home from visiting and doing what preachers do. And he was excited about his new pastorate, excited to be there. And she said, I know you're excited, but what am I here for? He said, well, you're here to be my wife. She said, no, there's got to be more than that. She said, I think I'm here for these children I see playing outside this window over there at that children's home, which back at that time was a big 2-story country home that was used as an orphanage. Mm-hmm. He said, well, they go to our church and we have Christmas parties for them and all. She said, no, we've got to do more than that. And so she decided she was going to do something to help the children. And during those days, there was no government funding. So whatever they got throughout the year is what they got throughout the year. And so they would try to plant little gardens and bring different things. And people would bring some money, but whatever money was had, but that was a difficult period. And they were barely making it from year to year. She said, that should not be. We've got to give these children more. So she started what they called a Santa Claus train. And she would have all the churches in North Carolina, right here in Clinton, Sampson County, and surrounding areas, have one day where they would bring things to the children's home. Whether it be, I saw the first letter, they want ham hocks and collars and fatback and all those kind, because they needed food. And then any money they could bring, if they could bring that. And they had, I think it was like 40 or 50 cars at first. They formed a parade, and the kids would line the road. And
that's a lot of cars, though.
Back in those days, it was a lot of cars. That's right. And then at the end of the parade, they would do a thank you program. Well, that's continued now all these years later. We still have, it changed its name from Santa Claus Train to the Harvest Train. And this year, we're doing our Harvest Train program on that story, the Lila Berry story, Finding My Place, to pay homage to the family. They're going to be there. Her son was our attorney for years. Up until 2 years ago when he passed away. Her son was Dolph Berry, a prominent attorney there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So the family tradition and history there is rich.
When we moved to this small town, I thought I'd be helping my husband at church, settling into a new life. But one day I looked out the window and saw the orphanage. I couldn't shake the feeling that those children needed more love, more care, more hope. I knew right then I had found my place. This is my story of stepping into a calling I never expected. I'm Lila Berry, and this is where I belong.
That's such a story, and when I was looking at it, I was thinking somehow we got to get that in the first segment, and we're going to be taking a break in a few seconds here. But I looked at that, and then I thought about what you have gone through in making your decision to commit to that. And then I know Sharon, your wife, is also she's retired from the state, but she's also decided to engage and be part of that organization. The question coming back from this break, I think I'd like for you to kind of get into a bit, if you don't mind, is that commitment and how it's changed your life similar to that of Lila Berry, in the sense that was there a specific moment, was there a time when it struck you that this is not only where I belong, but where I need to be, that it was something that was more than just, quote, a job? And I want to try to get if you don't mind, just a moment, get a feeling for that from you, because you're not just CEO and leader of that organization. You're committed to that in guidance and instruction, and a lot of that is from above, and I think that's what we need to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in a moment. Stay tuned. We're talking about Falcon's Children's Home. We're talking with Joey Leggett and about the intricacies involved there and his commitment to assuring that the children in this area have somewhere to go to and somewhere to stay. We'll be back.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. The service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network, working quietly in the background. Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Welcome back, folks. J.W. Simmons here, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. I'm talking with Joey Leggett, Falcon's Children's Home. Joey, again, thank you for being with us. We talked about some things off air that kind of followed the Lila Berry story and followed the choices that you have made and others that work with you. And even prior to that and in between you and Lila Berry and her husband. But this idea of making a commitment in our society today, you made that commitment, and as you pointed out earlier, you basically changed your whole life function in the sense of what you do, even to the point of your physical location. You pulled up stakes, went somewhere else to live, and stepped into a world that was not only challenging, but the big thing to me is, and we've talked a bit about this off air, but some of it sometimes is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's my wife is still mad at me, by the way, by moving her to Falcon from Clinton.
Yeah, I know she's
a
not.
Clinton girl, but she'll get over it. But anyway, yeah, you know, there were questions, and but I just felt like there was more I could be doing than what I was doing, and again, running a nursing home was it was satisfying. There was a lot of headaches with that, as you know, with survey teams coming in and complaints, but all in all, I wanted to help people. So, and enjoyed it. Enjoyed working with George Wilson, a dear friend of mine, and Jeff Wilson. But I think I always go back to, I may have told this story before, so please forgive me if I've told it on this radio or TV show before. But when I first got to Falcon, there was only 12, 13 kids there on a campus that could hold 90. And I was really starting to wonder if I'd made the right decision. And I don't know if anyone knows this, my father was the bishop of the PH church. He didn't want me to go because he thought he had seen its better days and everyone closed the doors. But I just felt like I had to. And if it fails, it fails, but I've got to at least give it a try. But we were walking back to the kids one night to the cottage after a Christmas party. So it was during this Christmas time of the year. And I had just got this little 8-year-old girl with her little 2-year-old and 3-year-old brother and sister. And I just thought how tragic. Here they are coming right here before Christmas. And I found out that her mother was on drugs and had done a line of cocaine every day. She locked the kids in the back of the house. And they pretty much fended for themselves. And the little 8-year-old was so protective of the 2- and 3-year-old, we could hardly speak to them. And it bothered me. And I remember coming back and telling my wife here in Clinton, we lived here, honey, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I want to make this better, and I don't know what to do. I mean, how do you help kids who are in a strange place? They actually came from Anson County, and Larry Crandall, who used to be director of social services here in Sampson County, had gone to Anson County. I stopped by there on the way back from a meeting in Charlotte and just didn't know he was there, met him, and so that led to him having his social workers call the next day for these 3 children who had been removed from their home. But anyway, I was walking back with these children back to the cottage and remember the night before I prayed, Lord, if you really want me to be at Falcon, I mean, not that God has to operate on my prerogative, but would you please give me a sign? This is where you want me to be. I'm really starting to question why I left a good job to do this if this is how it's going to be and I can't take it. But all of a sudden, a little 8-year-old reached up and grabbed my hand and squeezed my hand. And she said, Mr. Joey, this has been the best Christmas I've ever had. And I thought to myself, the best Christmas? Here I am worried about you being in this strange place away from your mom and dad. And then all of a sudden it was as if the heavens opened up. I mean, I'm not trying to make this any kind of dramatical moment, but it was like I understood then. There are certain situations out there for some children that are in such dire straits or chaotic situations that a place like Falcon could be like an oasis in the desert, a refuge for them. And I made up my mind then, Lord, with your help, I'll do everything I can do to reach as many children as we can reach and start as many programs as we can start to make a difference. And that was one of the times that I really look back on and realized that's where I was supposed to be. And another story, similar to that, after I'd been there for a while, we had to kick out 2 or 3 young ladies because they had just got so rebellious and threatening staff and just cussing all the time and just being ugly. And of course, cussing's pretty common with a lot of the kids that come there. But their behaviors became where they were threatening other people and other students. And so I remember kicking them out. But one night I was working late in my office, and Falcon's kind of a dark place. It's kind of in a rural area. And I heard somebody banging on my window outside my office. Well, it was those 3 girls. They had about 2 years later. And their last words to me, our boyfriends will come get you and take care of you. We ain't forgot you, Mr. Leggett. And they said, Mr. Leggett, we want to see you. And I'm going like, oh no, I'm not letting these girls in.
Yeah.
I might be in trouble.
Yeah.
But they kept, Mr. Leggett, we don't see you. So I opened the door and finally let them in because it was just me. I was the only one there. And they started hugging my neck. And I said, girls, do y'all remember what it was like when y'all left here? And they said, Mr. Leggett, we were young and we were immature. We really knew you cared about us and we knew this was a good place. And those two moments stick out in my mind because at first, everybody loves little 8-year-old kids and 2 or 3-year-olds. But when you got 15 and 16 and 17-year-old girls who've been running with gangs and all come back and tell you, hey, we know you really cared about us. I didn't know it. They didn't show it. So I realized then that there was something about me being at Falcon that I felt like had to be, I don't say that I had any special calling, but I knew this is where my giftings were. This is where I could really help children. If these teenagers and these little kids could see the same person there to help them.
And there's a reason for that. And you do look at it, and I think you're looking at it correctly, as a calling, because that's something that you do. And obviously you've done well because it continues to grow. And we'll talk about some of the other locations and some of the things that you're involved in. But I want to hold on one moment for that piece about the adolescent and young violent behavior that's going on today in our society. Are you seeing a lot of that in the intake part of what you're getting? And you just mentioned where children are just convoluted and fighting with emotions and their anger, and gangs is a big issue too. Gangs are pulling these people in and offering them identity and that kind of thing. Is that something you're seeing from the side of the house that you operate?
Oh, absolutely. We see a lot of the ills that are going on in society are transposed on these children's lives. So a lot of gang involvement. And we have to be very careful taking gang members, because gang members a lot of times are very versed in getting followings, very versed in manipulating situations.
Absolutely.
They'll run things, you want them that are doing it under the radar. And so we have to be very careful. We try to identify that right off the bat, because one gang member there could disrupt the whole cottage in no matter of time. And but still, that gang member needs help. I mean, there's a reason they're in a gang. Most times gangs take the place of the parents. And
they're looking identity, self-worth.
Self-worth. And it depends how far they are into that gang. If they're into that gang to where they're recruiting continuously, I mean, they have all different kind of things they do. A certain way they hold their fork when they eat, a certain way they'll cut their eyebrows. They got all these things. We don't know what they're doing, but we've taken a lot of training on that. We try to be versed in that. Not that we're the best at it. But not only that, then you get the kids that come, they borderline on they have to be in a higher level of care. Yeah. We're a level 1 facility. But now we get a lot of calls we're getting for level 3 and 4 children, which we really are not supposed to work with according to our license. But my staff would tell you, I have a hard time turning a child down, because I think every child has potential and a possibility. But sometimes we have to do that. But when the children come now, you see the anger and the violence sometimes that they've been through. Their first response to anything is, of course, even we were kids, we'd fight all the time, but they want to settle it, with a fight. And I had just the other day, a young man slapped another young man across the face because he said he was calling him names. He said, that's how we handle it in my house. And I said, I understand that, but you do realize that's assault. Well, he started it, and I have no doubt the other kid started it because this kid runs his mouth a lot. I said, but once you hit him, no matter what, he can't be charged with speaking words to you. You can now be charged with assault. And he was 14.
Exactly right. And
so we have to try to retrain those kids. Violence isn't always an answer for everything, and that's what they believe in. But they come in with such, sometimes hatred. Sometimes it can be racially motivated. They don't like us because they're coming from a household they were taught not to like certain kinds of people in society. But a lot of times they see violence in their home, so they want to play that out, in their life. They think that's normal. And just like drug use, we have children come to us that believe in smoking marijuana. Their daddy did it, their mama did it, their grandparents did it, they did it.
That's kind of the norm for them.
That's kind of the norm for them. We've got a young man now, and he's from Cumberland County, and he kept testing positive for marijuana, no matter what we did. And so we sent him to counseling, and because, kicking him out's the easy thing. But what if we get him to break that habit, And so we send him to counseling, and he still gets positive tests. So I call the county and say, we want him committed. Are y'all kicking him out? I said, no. If you will help us get him committed to get his life turned around, he'd come right back. You will do that? I said, absolutely. So we want to let social services know we're in it for the long haul with these children, but we need you to help us do that. because if we can't break their addictions now, who's going to do it? And it's a constant battle. You know, I speak about these things as if it's rosary, and it's a long battle. It's an ongoing battle. But these kids are worth it, and I want to make a difference.
It's devastating, and for folks listening today, what you're opening the door and allowing them to see through your words and conversation here is the real world as it exists. For a lot of folks that are listening, oftentimes they don't have a need to see that unless they happen to be driving down the road and all of a sudden bullets hits the side of their car or something of that nature. Then that tragedy is escalated in a matter of seconds. But what I want to kind of continue just a minute on that is you see it on a regular basis. Do you see solutions working that is out there, or do we need other solutions? We got about a minute here before we go to break.
I think we need other solutions for that child who falls in those cracks that maybe is beyond our ability to help them, the more therapeutic type child. And that's what the state is really craving right now. And I'm sure if you had Lynn Fields here as the Director of Social Services, or Brenda Jackson from Cumberland County, they would tell you that. There needs to be more alternatives for these children who have deep-rooted problems. They're so therapeutic that a level 1 facility can't help them. We need more of those therapeutic type foster homes, more of those therapeutic level 3 and 4 facilities that can specialize in that. I think that every child's different. You can't put them in one particular label, but kind of we do in the state a little bit. But there are children who have been through so much. And a lot of times if a child who's been sexually abused by a loved one, that goes so deep that sometimes they need help, that they really need to have people who specialize it. And they do, but we just need more of that.
We'll take a break. I want to continue this. I think it's important to not just drop it right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in a moment. We're going to continue to talk about this, the needs of the children and their adolescent behavior. We'll be back in a minute.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. We're talking about adolescent behavior. We're talking about Falcon's Children's Home, and the CEO there is Joey Leggett. Joey, when we went to break, I wanted to kind of pick up on where we were, because this is this discussion to me gets very interesting, very much intense. We're talking about the adolescent behavior that you see oftentimes coming in young teens and teenage, young adolescent behavior. You see it all. You do all of it at Falcon's Children's Home, including birth, including adoption. So we'll talk about that. But I want to zero back in on something you mentioned. There are levels of care that you cannot, by statute, deal with based on the behavior of that teenager, whether they're 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever they may be, and they have to be referred somewhere. Is that something that is the norm? And do you see in the future somewhere that your organization will be in a position to take care of that next level?
Yeah, it does become norm in that we'll take a child. A lot of times they will have what they call step down. They'll say this child was a level 3. They've done well there. We're going to try them at a level 1 facility. And then when they get there, their therapeutic behaviors are so intense that it may last for a week or two. Then we realize that they're going to probably need to go back, to a higher level of care. And so, and I think that's where social services are finding difficulty placing children. And really, I wish there was enough therapeutic foster homes. And there's not. We license foster homes now. We're not on the therapeutic side. There's a lot of different criteria you have to have. But to your question, I do foresee a day where we get more into the therapeutic side. We're not there yet. That'll be a complete paradigm shift for what we do.
Yeah.
I have to go through my board and all that to do that. But if I really want to make a difference and help more children, we need to get to that side. Even if we declare a cottage on our campus now, a therapeutic cottage. But there's a lot more you have to go through with that, a lot more billing issues, and you got to pretty much have a nurse on campus around the clock and those kind of things. So I'm 61 now. And so I'm thinking, if I work to a retirement age, I do want to leave this place where they are more into the therapeutic realm in addition to what we do. And because we can already license foster parents, can we start licensing therapeutic foster parents? Because I worry about those kids. If they're level 4, they're way off the chart. We know they're going to be put somewhere, need to be. If they're level 3, perhaps. It's those level 2, early level 3 children that seem to fall through the cracks. And a lot of times they'll come to Falcon and we can work with them. And they end up doing well. But I do think there needs to be more resources, and I think anyone would tell you that. And I think North Carolina's exploring what they can do with that particular leveling situation. But I do want us, in the long run, to be a part of that solution. Just don't know what it looks like exactly yet. But I do want to get there. And in some of our new programs, we're seeing that also, and I'll talk about that later when we talk about some of our new programs.
Well, and I do want to get into that, but what I hear you saying is that to do that would move you into more of a holistic approach to dealing with that child from even early age right on up through adolescence, and trying to keep them away from these distorted senses of behavior that literally some folks are, again, calling a crisis, because we're finding them on the streets, we're finding them engaged with gangs. Media is trying to catch up on the reporting. Just recently, it seems like they started using the word gang. They totally kind of shut it out for some time. Finally, they've decided, we're going to call it what it is. That, to me, seems to be a path not only of challenge, but of almost faith-based expectation. I mean, if you open that door, you got to deal with the next stage. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I've got to make sure that my board of trustees, that those who have supported the home for so many years are ready to take that next step. I think it's needed. I think that one day we need to do that. And I think really for the survival of the children's home going forward, it would help get more children there. And again, that's the goal, is to work, not so we can say we got X amount of children, but so we can work with those children. And I really think that if we were to take that next step, that would allow us to work with those children, level them down to Falcon if they need to, or keep them at that level and level them up. You see, the question is, there's some kids who have mental health issues. There are mental health issues. They were born with them. And so those kids are not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those kids who's through trauma and things they've gone through in their life, have got some deep-rooted issues. I want to be able to help those kids beyond the level 1 capacity that we're doing now. Yeah. And then also increase our ability to be like a one-stop shop, say, hey, if you put this kid here, if they have to be leveled up, we'll level them up, with the idea of trying to level them back down. I think social services would really appreciate that if we could do that. Absolutely. And I think the reality is, you're talking about psychiatric therapeutic solutions, that you have to have a very well-trained people to deal with those behaviors, because it's been part of their enculturing. Maybe they come from a family that is engaged with gangs. They were brought up in that culture. Take what you need and, take out what gets in your way. And that's a sad reality. Yeah. And it is. And that's what they're brought up that way. It's hard to correct that. But I think we do a good job at that at Falcon. But if we go into the therapeutic side, we can even do a better job at that. Well, just so folks will know, I want to kind of recap some things here that we've talked about in past sessions with you. You have a lot on your plate. You've got an organization called the Royal Home Ministries. You've got Tuberville. I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, Tuberville, South Carolina.
In South Carolina. Just a number of things that's happening here, and I want to try to give you opportunity to talk about some of those and things maybe that you need in that area. You basically run this entire organization on contributions and support from churches, from the community at large. I tell people sometimes you don't have to look far if you want to help people. Sometimes it starts at your back door.
Yeah, and now we do get government funding, but if we depended on that only, we'd be the bare basic necessities. Yeah. So we depend on churches and individuals. And I do want to say this, JW, from doing this program, and I don't want to name names because I don't know that they would want me to name names, but there's been a lot of people in Sampson County who've given to Falcon Children's Home. I think it comes right through this program. So I thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Absolutely.
But we do depend on churches, civic centers, individuals. I travel about 29 Sundays out of a year with the choir. We were just in Sampson County at Goshen Church a few weeks ago. I was in Lexington, North Carolina last Sunday. I'll be in Tarboro this Sunday. And then the next Sunday, I'll be in Eastover at a Methodist church there in Eastover. So people do give to us a lot and they support us a lot, but it takes a lot of money. We've got 40-acre campus, 14 cottages on that campus. We've got a gymnasium. We've got a private school on the campus. We've got a new physical fitness center we just developed for our kids so they can have an outlet. So a lot of these things we're able to do because of donations. And then also, we provide a lot of clothing for the kids. We have a warehouse for our kids. We have a thrift store in Dunn, North Carolina, where all that money goes back to our private school. We do not get government funding for our private school. So a lot of the money we get from donations, goes to help us run our private school. And for our kids, that's important because a lot of kids come to us 2 or 3 grades behind. So we offer a smaller class setting as well as online classes that catch them up. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like we have a little city there and it takes a lot to run that city. You got to feed these kids too. And people say, well, what kind of things do you need? Well, what do you need in your home? You got to have trash bags. You've got to have groceries. You've got to have this and that. Now imagine multiplying that by 85 kids, another 30-some staff that live on campus in 14 households. And so anything you can use at your home, we can use. And we get a lot of that. At the Harvest Train program, we get a lot of that. And I will say we're very, very blessed. And that's one of the most satisfying things to me and what I do is that the message is getting out. But we could always use more. We can always have a lot to keep up with. And just giving these kids some things of their own too. So it's really a blessing to be at Falcon Children's Home and see the way people give.
And I think one of the things you do well too is you connect with communities. And as you just said, you're moving from one place to the other, talking with people, making that connection, letting them know it's there. And for me, this is just a small way that I can reach out and help you move that message forward. Because what we're really looking at, when I look at what you do and others in this field, you're really dealing with fixing before it gets there what our future is as a society. Because these people, although you look at it and say, well, it might be a fraction of the total population, but still they're determining the trajectory of where we end up 20, 30 years from now.
I think that's a good point, JW. Thank you for saying that. In our encapsulated campus there, the kids are in the same boat. It don't matter if they're white, black, Latino, boy, girl, gay. Sometimes we get gay kids, non-gay. They're there because of no fault of their own, that they had to be taken away from their home for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So I love to watch that, but then they learn how we can problem solve. They learn how we can get along with people who are different than we are. There's not a lot of the bias and prejudices there. Mm-hmm. And then they realize that the staff really cares about them. So that goes a long ways in helping them when they leave there. They may never have seen this displayed before them before. They were taught to be racist sometimes. They were taught to make fun of other people. They were taught. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I'm not saying we have the answer for all, but I've watched as this campus has evolved, and we're able, as a staff, to say, you don't have to be this way. You can be this way. There is a future for you. Mm-hmm. Learn to love your fellow man. Learn to respect your fellow man, especially just this past election, how polarizing that was. And we try to tell them, we're not going to get into that. We're just going to get into, we want to make you a better person. And so yes, I think we are providing a long range solution for our kids when they age out of care. And they can stay there till they're 21. We try to get them to stay till 21. Now, a lot of times the county may come put them back with the parents. A lot of our kids go back to their parents. And a lot of times, and let me say this, I don't want to make the parents sound bad. Parents are just like anybody else. Life gets tough. Things happen. Addictions may happen. They're making them bad people. And so we want the kids to go home with their parents if possible. But even going home with their parents, I want them to see the side of they've learned something at Falcon. They'll make them a better daughter, son, daughter, or neighbor to where they're going back to.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to kind of do that last part of the show coming up and kind of fill in some things that we need to know and how folks out there listening and watching can help you carry the mission forward with what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Joey Leggett, Falcon's Children's Home.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
He forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming up on the last part of the show. We're talking with Joey Leggett, Falcon's Children's Home. Joey, again, thank you for being with us today. It's just, we get into this, and sometimes I want to do like a series, maybe a semester or something. but there's so much going on up there, and there's so many parts and particulates to Falcon's Children's Home. On break, we mentioned a couple of things that you're involved in as well, and that's this huge issue that's happening nationally, and in North Carolina especially. And 95 corridor and 40 corridor are said to be pathways for human trafficking, which is associated with gang activities and various other things. Let's do a kind of an overview of all the things that you have ongoing now, and point out any specific things that we need to highlight.
Well, we have the residential program, which is the children's home itself. We have about 85 kids in that program. A program that was started here in Sampson County, the Alternative to Abortion Ministry by Marvin and Joyce Whitfield. We've now added a mothers and babies program to that. That was a program for unwed mothers when they had their children. So we now help the mothers after they have their babies. We could always use diapers, formula, any support there. Babysitters, if they want to, or volunteers. Then we started a school on campus, and so we have our own private school. So we need volunteers for that want to come out and be a mentor or a tutor for our children. Any athletic equipment you may have, books and those kind of things. And then we now license foster homes. We need foster families or potential foster families to step up and say, I want to be a foster family working for Falcon Children's Home. You'd be licensed by the state, but you'd actually work for Falcon Children's Home. I want to see that program grow more and more. We need more foster homes. And then we have just started recently a program that I think we're just scratching the surface of where it's going to go. We've had our license about 1.5 years now. And that program is called Magnolia Hope. It's a home for girls caught up in human and sex trafficking. I went to a seminar, it's been almost 9 years ago now, in Baltimore, Maryland, at a request of our denomination. And they began to talk about this thing called human trafficking. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about it. And a young lady got up and told her story of how she met an unscrupulous young man. He introduced her into this world of sex trafficking through coercion, threats, and to her family. And before she knew it, she was caught up in it. But it was happening in suburban America. We think it happens on just the wrong side of the tracks. There's a big sex trafficking when it goes from Charlotte to Fayetteville to Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. And so, and I said then, Lord, if I can ever do anything to help in that situation. Well, about 5 years later, a former social worker, a case manager at Falcon, came to me and said, Mr. Leggett, we're involved in removing girls in human trafficking off the streets, but we have nowhere for them to go. And I said, this may be the opportunity.
That's that door opening.
That's that door opening. And, you know, when God opens the door, you need to step through it. And so we stepped through it. We got our license. We have the only licensed facility in the state of North Carolina now for human trafficking. We're now trying to get a grant to build even more homes. We actually work in conjunction with Baptist Children's Home on where the site is. I cannot tell you where the site is. We have to keep it a secret, but it is in eastern North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Because people are looking for these girls sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so we could use a lot of volunteers there, a lot of prayer and support there. And again, any kind of monetary donation. We don't get a lot of funding for these girls. They're just taken off the street and brought to us many times. And that's
What's the age group typically you find?
You're going to be shocked when I tell you this. The average age is 14 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And we have 4 girls there right now. And I think 2 are 14, one's 15 and one's 16. Real quick story, because I think stories typify what this is about. We had one young lady, I won't tell her name, but she got it one morning and told the directors, I want to get this tattoo taken off my arm. And they said, what is this? Well, it's the initials of my trafficker. And every morning when I get up, I see those initials and it makes me sick to my stomach. So they called me and said, Mr. Leggett, can we get this tattoo removed? Well, removing a tattoo is expensive. I don't know if you know that. Have you ever had a tattoo?
Nope.
I didn't think you did. Anyway, but removal of tattoos is pretty expensive. I said, don't worry about it. We'll take the cost, get it taken off her arm. They found a person there in that area, took her to that person. They said he was kind of an older, crusty guy, was drinking a beer and smoking a cigar. And he started scolding the young lady, why would you get a tattoo to get it removed? You young people, I can't believe you do this. And you could tell he really just wasn't happy about the situation. And he said, why did you get that tattoo? And then she began to tell him her story. He put his beer down and his cigar down. He said, it's free today. We'll remove that tattoo for free. We want to free this girl. It's one of the most touching programs we have now. It's one of the most difficult programs. We've had 20 girls there this past year. 15 have run away because they're so brainwashed almost. They think this is their self-value, what men see in them and making money and the way they've been pimped out or trafficked out there, sometimes by their own families. It'll break your heart, but that's still a child of God. And I remember that girl at that meeting that day when she ran that room in Baltimore, there was 5,000 people in the audience. And she said, I could have been your daughter and your daughter and your daughter. And at that time, my oldest son, Cameron, he has blonde hair and blue eyes just like she has. And I said, physically, she could have been. Oh, yeah. She said, what would you do if it was your daughter? I never forgot that question. So when I see these girls and I realize it's a real battle, that's somebody's daughter, somebody's granddaughter, somebody's sister. And so it's one of the most profound programs we have. We're still just scratching the surface for that. And that was a whole paradigm shift for us too. I had to go from our board and say, listen, they said, we don't want you involved in removing them off the street. I said, no, we're not going to be law enforcement. But when they get removed off the street, we have a place where they come. We have horse therapy there. We have therapists there. We teach them how to cook, how to balance a checkbook, how to go for a job interview and give them hope. Like we've got a girl there now. She wanted to cook. So we sent her to a chef school to learn how to cook. And
but so, what you're talking about, Joe, though, is human slavery. These, and
it goes on here in eastern North Carolina and western North Carolina.
Yeah, right under our nose sometimes.
Right under our noses. And it would blow your mind. It's evil. You know, Psalms 82, I think 82, 1 and 2 says, you know, rescue the weak and look after them and deliver them from the hand of the wicked. There's nothing more wicked in all the world than grown men using children to make money off
Absolutely.
Them. And that's somebody's daughter. And so, you know, JW, the problem I have sometimes is when I get home at night, I get so mad about some of the things I see. But then I think, God, there's a place like Falcon, and there's a Baptist Children's Home, there's a Methodist Home for children, Freeville Baptist Children's Home. We're not the only ones doing it, but all those guys are my friends. But I'm glad there are places like that. Thank God for all the foster parents who step up and say, I want to be a foster parent. Thank you for the DSS social workers, and I was a DSS social worker for about 2 years. It's a tough job. I thank for all that they're doing, and but there's still more of a need out there, and anything people can do to give to us. I promise you money goes to a good cause. I can promise you that. We have one of the lowest, when they do our audit at the end of the years, we have one of the lowest administrative costs of any organization they've seen. They can't believe how much of our money goes directly to the children or children's programs. And I want it to be that way. Because this is a ministry that is making a real difference in the lives of children. We're not perfect. Every child doesn't come out there the way they should. Some children leave there mad at Falcon. Some children run away. And sometimes things may happen. But all in all, I know what we're doing is making a difference in the lives of these children. And I can't explain to you what that feels like to be a part of that.
Are you committed and are you available if there are church leaders listening or watching the show that says, I'd like to get somebody to come to the church and talk to us about what's going on, and you make it so clear, and you're involved in it in such a way that you can educate people easily by just saying, I've been there, I've seen this, I know what's happening, and you've literally seen that in front of your eyes. Are you able to commit to reaching out and going to some of these places and speaking to folks?
Oh, absolutely. I already travel 29 Sundays out of a year, but I'll go to a Wednesday night program, a civic group. And by the way, I spoke last year at the Clinton Kiwanis, and they came out and a Rotary, and they came out supporting us, and I appreciate that. We would love to speak anywhere about Falcon Children's Home and what we do, any church. And even though we were founded by the Pentecostal Holiness Denomination, we're not just, we go to all churches. I'll be at a Methodist church in Eastover Sunday. I was at Baptist church 3 weeks ago. So denominations doesn't matter to us. It's just children that matter to us. But if you'd love for us to come now, we can also bring a choir. We have a choir of about 10 to 12 children, and they will bless you, I promise you. We would love to bring the choir, or I'll just come and speak, or have someone. I could have the director of Magnolia Hope, who runs the human trafficking program, to come speak. I could have my wife go speak about foster homes. I could have the principal of our school go speak. I could have the director of our Royal Home Ministries, which is the Mothers and Babies program, go speak. We would love the opportunity to come speak and share about what's going on at Falcon and how you could help us and how we could be a part of working together. We're
going to be posting on in the background for the TV viewers as well, the contact numbers and some visual stuff. On the radio side, if you want to give us a number that folks can call, that would be good as well.
It's 910-980-1065. 910-980-1065, and tell them J.W. Simmons told you to call.
Absolutely.
And we know where it's coming from.
Absolutely. I would love that. I would love that. And I think looking at it from what you just said, I think folks probably need to also kind of think about, this is not a denominational issue. This is an issue not only locally but globally it's being dealt with, and it's literally a human slavery issue now that you're focused on. So we got about a minute here to before we go to closing the show. So I want to give you that time to just anything we might have missed that you can touch on.
Well, I also forgot to mention, we do have a children's home in South Carolina, also Tuberville Children's Home, and it's doing very, very well. And we're looking to go into Virginia within the next couple of years, because I want to go into the county, the states that border North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But again, I just want to say thank you so much, JW, for this, and thank you for what you do for the community. You're a gift to this community, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your television program or radio program.
Well, anytime we can help, I think that's part of what we need to do with our time is help folks like you that's forging forward and really in the storm. You're in the storm doing this.
Yeah, and I want to say a big thank you to the listeners out there. I have literally seen what this program has meant because people have responded. And so thank you for listening to me. Thank you for feeling what I'm saying and the heart of what I'm saying. And just thank you for your support. We are all, when children hurt, we all are hurting. And so we need the whole community and the different communities of this area to rally around what we're doing. And like I said, this human trafficking is a whole nother element that we're now dealing with. And look, it don't have to be Falcon Children's Home within your churches, within your communities. If you see a child you think is being mistreated, let somebody know. Let social services know. Reach out to those children. We all need to be caretakers of children who we work with, go to school with, and are in our community.
Joey Leggett, Fight On. Thank you for being with us. Look forward to having you back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here. May God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.